Hello and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show brought to you by Craft Beer Nation. Today is November 5th, 2015, and we have Wayne Wombles, brewmaster, and Joey Redner, founder and CEO of Cigar City out of Tampa, Florida, joining us tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about Cigar City, where they are, and what's to come. So pour that beer in a glass and get comfortable. And while the theme music plays, that would be a perfect time for you to subscribe to our Pints and Quarts podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, or whatever podcast forum you use. You can also follow us on Facebook. We tweet at CBN Community. We're on Instagram at craftbeer_nation, and you can also find us on Google+.
Time now for a look back at the last week in the craft beer industry. Pour a cold one and sit back for an all-new episode of Pints and Quarts, presented by Craft Beer Nation.
All right. Once again, welcome to Pints and Quarts. Tonight we're joined by our normal crew. We have Lola Laracy joining us from Jacksonville, Florida. Lola, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, and I'm laughing a little bit because normally I'm the one in like a huggy type thing, double fisting. So I've handed over the duties to you, Ryan.
Hi. We have Gil Mello joining us tonight. Gil still has his Craft Beer Nation picture up on the screen, but he's an average looking guy. There he is. Gil, how are you, Gil?
Good as always.
Right.
Drinking High Alive, one of my favorite beers from Cigar City. Happy.
And Gil is joining us from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we also have Linda Dean joining us from Corvallis, Oregon. Linda, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, fantastic. I actually managed to get a collaboration between Ecliptic and Cigar City Elixir.
Right on.
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then we have Ryan from Cigar City joining us, who's drinking out of 2 bottles at one time.
Ryan, hold on.
That's the way to do it.
Ryan's actually from Hill Farmstead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ryan's from Hill Farmstead, and we're gonna get to that later on in the show.
He's running over to Cigar City, though.
But we also have Wayne Wombles. Wayne has been on our show. Wayne, I think this is your 3rd time on our show because we interviewed you once before, and we also interviewed you at Savor this past summer. So this is cool to have you on our. You're like a regular now, man. I feel like we're cousins.
Well, I think you might have a very different experience tonight based upon the company that we have.
So, Wayne, let's get right into it, man. So Cigar City, you guys, the last time we spoke, I think and I'm going straight off of memory here. Not at Savor, but the first time we interviewed you, I think you guys were doing, was it 50,000 barrels a year, maybe? Is that something right? No. I was way off.
Yeah, this year we should be in the range of 50,000. Last year was around 42,000. So
okay.
Yeah, this year is going to be around there.
Maybe was 50,000 at one point your capacity? Or is 50 or 60?
With our current fermentation capacity, yeah, probably around 50,000 cap, but we're going through a build-out that'll put us somewhere in the neighborhood of 60, 65, and the next expansion will put us somewhere in the neighborhood of around 120,000. After that, we'll have to build another brewery.
Okay. Is it so that's something that's in the plans? Building another brewery?
Definitely. We just got some really good news today. There was a bit of legislation that was passed in the city of Tampa that basically would cap a brewery at 60,000 annual, and that kind of prevented us from moving forward and concerned us very much about even the current build out. So we got some really good news today, so I think that we're going to be able to move on, and it also buys us a little bit of time as far as building another whole brand new facility. So we'll be able to build out our current situation to around 120,000 annual before we move on and build another facility.
Man, so There's gonna be a lot of happy people, man. What you about to say, Lola?
Well, as someone from Jacksonville, are you going to have like a satellite location? Because that would be awesome.
Can't answer that question. Joey, do you want to come in here and answer some
He
questions?
pleads the fifth.
Well,
Wayne,
Jacksonville's really awesome. So.
while we wait on Joey, let me ask you this. You everybody can hear there's a lot of fun going on in the background, right? You guys are up in Vermont right now. Can you speak a little bit about what you guys are doing up there?
We're brewing at Hill Farmstead, so we just had dinner at Ryan's and Mahalia's place, and Ryan is he claims he's the cellarman for Hill Farmstead. Nobody knows what he does.
He's the level 4 cellarman.
Yeah, no one knows what the hell he does, but his wife cooks pretty well, so we're here like hanging out, having beer.
Can you tell us what you brewed?
I can tell you, but it might not come out for like 2 years. We did a cool ship beer, so what we do with it in the future is undetermined yet. It'll be based upon what the local microflora at this moment is doing to the work.
So I'm gonna give you a little shameless plug here, everybody. If you go to Cigar City Brewing on Instagram, you'll see that they were at Hill Farmstead at Lawson's Finest Liquid, Lawson's Finest, earlier this week, and then you guys were also, and you just told me the name of this third one. It's called Rock
Art.
Red Rock or
Rock Art. Yeah, they're the ones that are known for the Vermonster, the barley wine that drew attention because of the cease and desist from Monster Beverage energy drink, right?
Okay.
Anyway, so someone had a question about, does Cigar City Brewing plan to have any satellite branches, maybe Jacksonville, Florida? And that's why I asked Joey to come in here. You want to answer?
We don't have any immediate plans. If you want to answer, we don't have any immediate plans, but we,
I would be your welcoming.
We don't have any immediate plans, but we're not ruling anything out.
We're really cool. We love beer. We really do.
So I'll say this.
So
I know
that's a Hill Farmstead employee. I want to just point that out.
Okay.
So when Florida was going through some legal challenges as it relates to their craft beer laws, and I don't know if this was just a rumor or not, but there was. It seemed like I heard Cigar City was at one point thinking about moving out of Florida and maybe going to another state.
I didn't know.
Question about Cigar City moving out of Florida and the legislative issues that were quite a bit back. Any more thoughts on that?
When I speak, can they hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So our consideration was more for secondary facilities. It wasn't for the primary facility. And it wasn't primarily driven by the legislation. It just factored into it. If you're going to throw millions of dollars into an expansion, and at that expansion you're not going to be able to sell any retail, it obviously makes more sense to be able to do that. Where should I be looking? Oh, okay. So part of the factor for us was just, there's no reason to build a production facility. You can't also have retail sales. To me, it's just how I look at a brewery. If I can't go drink the beer there, take something to go with me, to me it takes away from the experience. So we, at that point, were looking only at places where we were going to be able to do that. And that was up for grabs in Florida at the time. We didn't know if it was going to be able to happen. Now we know legislatively that we can have up. But back then we didn't know if that was going to be,
possible.
Yeah.
So Wayne, I want to ask him this question as well. So we spoke a little bit before we came on air. We were speaking about Good Gourd, and that's probably one of the most sought after pumpkin beers, in my opinion, outside of Pumpkin. Are there any plans to expand distribution for Good Gourd as well as for White Oak Aged High Life?
Two questions. It's both about brands and distribution. He says that Good Gourd is one of the most sought after pumpkin ales in the country or whatever, and wants to know if we plan on expanding distribution of that brand and White Oak as well.
Well, both of those beers, for me personally, White Oak is a favorite, but we're in a position where we can't even keep, half of our production is High Life, and the rest, the other 50% that's left, it's 4 cores is like 45%. Literally all of the beers that we do that we're well known for, Hunahpu, Good Gourd, White Oak, Humidor Series, Oatmeal Raisin Cookie, a lot of the beers that we really enjoy, those beers collectively are about 5% of our production. And we would love to do more of them, but we're capacity constrained, and as Wayne said, we're looking for ways to create more capacity. We would love to do more of the beers. We just are, we're trying to keep up with 85% of our beer, which is 4 beers, and we're struggling to do even that. So basically, we suck.
Well, I will let you know, I get excited every time I go into the grocery store and I see High Life, because that's a new thing. They used to not have any Cigar City, but they have High Life now, and I just get happy.
Right on. What state are you in again?
Florida.
Oh, Jacksonville. Right on. Yeah, we've actually been getting more product to Alabama as well.
Okay.
So I'm happy about that because that's my home state.
Okay.
Yeah. So Wayne, I'm looking on the website, and I'm seeing a whole lot of special releases. Do you use your special releases to gauge interest in your beers?
Do we use our special releases to gauge interest in our beers?
Certainly to a degree. You put a beer out and you're waiting to get feedback and see what people tell you about them. I mean, most of the beers that have become cores or become standard specialty releases, that was certainly the case. You put them out there, people tell you if they suck or if they like them, and you go from there.
So, Wayne, let me ask you this: what as a brewery, and I think this question is more suited towards you. What is your identity? I mean, because you guys, it's not like you make malt centric, malt forward beers, and it's not like well, at least the beers that I've had from you guys, none of them have been like a punch you in the face hop conundrum type beer. Is your identity to kind of make more balanced beer, but just kind of be fearless and do different things, or what do you feel your identity is as Cigar City?
I think we ultimately strive for balance. We actually this year we did one really aggressive. I felt like it was the first West Coast IPA to double IPA we've ever made. It was called Jolly Ollie. So still looking into sort of testing the boundaries with different things. Ultimately, I'm sure you've heard this many times, but I think that it is a lot about balance. But I think the more that we progress as a brewery, the more that we look at doing more progressive things and continue to go out of the box and continue to. I travel quite a bit, so I'm looking at different cultures, and also those cultures have different approaches to culinary, and I'm sort of inspired by those things as well. So there's just a lot of different things that are inspiring. But one of the main things is we are a Florida brewery, and we're in a subtropical environment, and I just think that a lot of our approaches to beer, not always, but many times I like to approach from like have tropical notes in the beer or have some sort of tropical expression. And you could probably see that by some of the collaborations that we've done recently. So.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, go ahead, Gil.
No, I was just saying, one thing, we're going to have to ask you that because that came up on a couple comments on our community. And there's a lot of breweries selling for one reason or another and stuff like this. And I remember Joey had commented about AnheuserBusch had approached you guys one time, and I was wondering does that happen, or it was just spoken?
I'm definitely going to let him comment on this. He wants to know about Anheuser-Busch approaching us.
You just sort of what I think about it, or
Whatever he wants to tell us about it.
yeah, whatever you want to talk about regarding it.
We're at a time in the craft beer industry where it's going to start happening a lot. Craft breweries, the valuations are so silly, stupid high that, you have people like me that started a company really, I set out to start this tiny little brewery. And, before I could turn around, I have a fairly large business that, I've got 75 employees and, literally, before I could blink, I've got this large company. And for those large companies who see a lot of inefficiency in these small companies and they buy them and accelerate their growth, they just see it as, hey, that's a whole lot of money, just right there. That if we buy into those companies, we grow them, double them, triple them, and it's quick, fast money. And for the founders of those companies, I mean, each individual person is going to look at that based on their personal needs. They're going to say, well, do I want to pass this on to my kids? Is this what I want to do? Because, running a small brewery, and Wayne can attest to this, is very different than running a large brewery. We're not by any means large, but when you start hitting 50,000 plus barrels, that's a whole different industry than when it was me and him. And literally, if we were going to have a company meeting, it was me yelling across the brewery to him, and that's not the case anymore. It's very much different. So I think you're going to see a lot more of it. For me personally, I mean, hey, I was flattered. We made a business big enough that they would even take notice of us.
I remember you guys have a big thing on your door, right? Like saying Anheuser-Busch Brewery.
Yeah, he's talking about the sticker that we put on the door. That was basically us saying,
have fun with it. Yeah, have fun with it.
Because the whole thing was just a BS strewn across the media, complete just blown up garbage.
I'll have a meeting with anyone. I'll sit down, especially if you're in the beer industry. I don't care what brewery you're with. I'll sit down and talk to you. We're in the same industry, sure. That said, they want to give me $150 million. I will talk to them about that. If they want to pay stupid amounts of money for something that, I'd love to be able to cut Wayne a check for millions of dollars and say thank you so much for growing this thing that some other company is willing to give us stupid amounts of money for. But we'll see. Yeah. If they come with a check that's got so many zeros I can't keep track of it, then maybe. Who knows?
And the second thing I want to ask you, since we're on that kind of a strange topic, what was the inspiration for Florida Man? Here that you guys projected then.
For the name?
Yeah.
Your inspiration for naming the beer Florida Man?
That was just obvious. I'd been a follower of the Twitter feed, and he actually had a Facebook feed too, and I've just always felt like, Florida is kind of a crazy state. I'm a fifth generation Floridian. I grew up there. Embrace it. If someone's going to poke fun at you, embrace it. So I just figured it was a way for us to sort of kind of take the Florida Man concept and say that is all true. We are crazy as shit.
So, Wayne, let me ask you this. I mean, a lot of people outside of Florida specifically know you guys for your kind of flagship beers, right? I mean, they know Highlight, they know the Maduro Brown, they know the Jose Marti, they know the big popular beers. But correct me if I'm wrong, in your tap room, you guys have like some really, really crazy one-offs, right? I mean, like what drives your R&D portion of your business? Is it just whatever wacky ideas you and your assistant brewers can come up with, and you just try it, or what's the driving force behind it?
This is Pints and Quarts, brought to you by Beer Nation.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Basically, we have someone that's specifically in charge of research and development, and his name's Jason Fromm. He does a lot of work for us. and
Sweet.
he puts out how many beers does he put out a week, Jason Fromm?
God, he cranks them out. They have to do 20 barrels a week. Yeah.
No,
not
20
barrels. 20
20 a
different
month,
beers.
20
At
a
least
month.
20 different beers a week.
20 different beers a week or something like that. So he's taking existing brands and infusing them, and then basically we can see how responsive people are to them in the tasting room, and it also just generates interest overall.
Well, it also lets us try things. You have a concept for something, especially from a unique ingredient standpoint. Instead of brewing an entirely new beer, you can at least see how it expresses in a beer that you know well. So you're able to evaluate sort of what its effects will be because you can put it in a base that you understand.
So how big of an impact was the recent law change in Florida as it relates to you guys being able to? I think before you couldn't sell beer in the tap room, or you couldn't sell beer to go out of the tap room or something like that. Is that true?
It wants you to talk about the legislative issues where the businesses sued the state of Florida, which ultimately led to the last legislative campaign and House and Senate session. You want
How
to
big
talk
of an
about that?
impact has that been? How big of an impact has that been for you guys?
How big of an impact has that been for us?
Yeah, well, that's a lot to unpack, sort of everything that led up to the legislation. It was retail accounts and distributors suing basically breweries having the right to have tasting rooms and sell beer retail. During the last legislative session, we made some concessions. We got capped at 8, that we could have 8 tasting rooms. That was the max. Prior, there technically was no cap. And then there was a transfer cap. So let's say I open 2 breweries, and the first brewery brews 1,000 barrels a year, and the second brewery brews 1 barrel a year. Well, at that second brewery, I can only transfer in from my 1,000-barrel brewery up to 1 barrel. You can only transfer in as much as you brew at the receiving brewery. So that was a cap on sort of how we could move beer around, and that affected Cigar City because we had a brew pub that had a small system, and we would transfer beer in to help supplement. But on the whole, it hasn't changed business very much. We pretty much operate the way that we did before. We currently, though, we have the legal certainty that there will be no legal challenges to the existence of tasting rooms, and that's definitely been the model that's worked in Florida. We don't have self-distribution. A lot of states do. In fact, if you look at the states that have really robust craft beer scenes, Vermont, where we are now, Colorado, California, North Carolina, they can all self-distribute. Well, we can't in Florida, but tasting rooms give us an outlet. It gives us a place that we can sort of kind of, do a proof of concept, if you will, for your brand. If people will go there and buy it and drink it, then it'll probably stand the test of the market. So we're kind of just, in effect, where we were before, but with more legal certainty and a few less options. But no one really out there had 8 tasting rooms before, so we're limited for the future, but nobody got reduced from what they had.
Okay.
Are you guys brewing at full capacity right now, or?
Yes, with our current capacity and our current production facility, I feel like we are brewing at capacity. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we definitely are.
We're actually stretching the limits.
Yeah.
So you have been very little sleep lately, I guess.
It's actually sometimes a challenge to determine how much of a seasonal we can produce, because the more of that we produce, the more we cut into our core brand production.
Is that good? A good product placement?
Shameless plug for Hill Farmstead right there.
You said half of your production is high LI, and then the rest is kind of a split between your specials, or you have a pilot for your special brewing?
It's highlights to around 58% of.
Highlight is what, Justin? 50? 55%.
55%. I think
growing.
At one time, wasn't it 58% or something?
It might have been briefly. Honestly, it's been around 50 on average for most of our existence, but it's crept up. It's 55 now.
So there's the answer on highlight for you, and that's our top selling core brand.
and then the rest. Like, do you have do you have a pilot system where you do all your special stuff, or you just brew on your normal brewing system?
We've actually used our 15-barrel brew house, which we call Brew House 1, as more of a pilot system. But hopefully in the future we'll have something that we can use that's a little bit smaller. But we've been using the 15-barrel system mainly.
Awesome. So, Wayne, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about a couple news stories that we found during the week, and I think one of them, you guys, it definitely has an impact on you guys, and it's about the actual cans that you put your beer in. Linda, you want to go ahead and talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I was reading foodandwine.com and I really
Rock on.
On the horizon. Apparently, you know what? I did not realize that there are so few can suppliers. Wrexham, Ball, and Crown were listed in the article, and Wrexham and Ball are actually trying to merge right now, and Crown seems to be taking advantage of this and cutting supplies and raising prices for cans. Does this affect you guys at all? Right?
The current situation with Crown doesn't really affect us because we use ball cans. Actually, I don't understand. It doesn't seem to be a tactic to me. I'll let Joey answer it too, though. To me, it seems to be more like they're cutting their own throat because if you can't get Crown cans, you're probably going to buy ball cans. What do you think about that whole Crown shortage thing?
I'm making some assumptions because we've never actually bought Crown cans, but my recollection is that Crown did have a lot lower minimums. With Ball, you do have to buy, I believe, at least a half a truckload, which is 13 pallets. So the barrier to entry for Ball is a little bit higher. That said, if you can't get cans anywhere, then you're going to go with another supplier. But you can also there's a lot of companies out there that will throw a label on a can for you or put a shrink wrap on a can. So, you could pool with some other breweries. You all buy blank cans, and then those get sent out and shrink wrapped or labeled. So there are other options. But, yeah, if you've got a business relationship with someone and you're happy with it and they cut it off, I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah. So I mean, all these smaller places that have been trying to buy Crown cans because they actually give them those smaller amounts.
Minimums.
They do have the smaller minimums. They do have other options, but we might be seeing. Is there a possibility we'll be seeing some price increases for some people because they can't, they don't have access to buying cans with other people?
Well, I mean, it's talking about smaller breweries who are not getting cans because of the minimum. Well, I mean, to me, if they can't get cans from Crown, there's no use to waste their time buying from them in the first place.
There's also another company, Wrexham, that I don't think has cut anyone off. There's Ball, Crown, and Wrexham. Those are the big ones. And I haven't heard of Wrexham cutting anyone off. But honestly, most companies, most brewing entities that can actually can are big enough that they have options of going somewhere else. If you're to the point where you're canning beer, if you're not buying the cans from a repacker or one of the ones I mentioned that will put a shrink sleeve on it, then you're buying half pallets probably anyway, and that's a $25,000 investment for one brand.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's big.
And that doesn't include the plates, does it? If you're not shrink sleeving, then you have cost of plates, the amount of time it takes to make the plates, and like the commitment to that single brand, like you said.
There's a high financial barrier to entry for canning. I mean, if you're going to do one brand and you're going to do it with some scale, honestly, St. Somewhere Brewing, where we're from in Tarpon Springs, started all in as a brewery for less than it would cost to buy one run of cans.
So
Oh,
Shane,
that's something to think about.
Shane, Joey does know that Wrexham and I think Wrexham and Ball
Wrexham and Ball have
are
announced a merger. Yeah.
yeah. Does he
Wrexham
know
and
that?
Ball have announced the merger.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess this doesn't really apply to y'all too much because if you're 55% of your production is highlight, you guys have no problem at all or ordering the minimum, right?
Well, I mean, we've never used Crown, so
Okay,
we're
so
not.
yeah,
It doesn't bother us. We've always used Ball. So.
okay,
We're fortunate that right in Tampa there's a Ball plant, so literally our cans come from like 8 miles from the brewery. And we have a pretty good relationship with them. And fortunately, because we can all of our flagship beers, we buy enough volume that we're probably not in danger of having our supply cut off.
Also, let me say one more thing. Since we're talking about alternatives, if you're a Crown consumer brewery and they say, guess what, you're not getting anything from us, you could go to Ball. Even with blank cans, they have a minimum pallet limit, but you could take that single minimum pallet limit, invest in a fast enough labeling machine, and you could label in-house yourself as long as the labels we found it's better to use water resistant or waterproof, and that's another option too. So I think that probably would be a cheaper option than going to shrink sleeve. There are other options, other ways to do it. It just depends on which one works best for your production.
Yeah, we did labeled cans for probably 2 years.
Then our canning line went from 60 cans per minute to 170, and our labeler couldn't keep up with it anymore.
okay. So can access isn't an issue for you guys right now because
Well, and as they said, it has to be approved. The merge has to be approved yet, but it does create a concern. Maybe not specifically for them, but that's for the craft beer in general. I think if there's less company doing minimum amounts, it's going to be hard.
But see, the way that shrink sleeves and labeling benefits us is because also as a big brewery is we could also have stock of blank cans, and that blank can stock allows us to turn it into, if we had a labeler or if we chose to shrink sleeve, multiple special release brands that normally, if they were printed cans, would be a 15 pallet minimum. So now we can take those 15 pallets and shrink sleeve them or whatever at any volume, maybe one pallet at a time, and be able to have special releases in cans. That's another challenging thing about canning your beer.
yeah. But the good thing is the quality of your beer is consistent when you're in cans because it's a tiny keg, right? So you guys don't have to worry about light infection or oxygen getting in or whatever. So it's an expense on the front end, but I think it pays out in the back end, in my opinion.
Our packaged airs are the best that they've ever been, and it's been fine-tuning our centrifuge, and it's also been a matter of fine-tuning our canning line. And we've just been running great airs. Cans are never going to reduce your chances of infection. I don't think that's a selling point for them. The main things that I personally look at are no DO ingress, like a crown gasket and a crown on a bottle. Light ingress as well is another thing. So those are two big strong points for cans, in my opinion.
I'm very happy with our DO on cans right now.
Yeah, our DO is running.
Sleep well at night on that.
Yeah, no doubt. Our average DO packaged is running about 20 parts per billion, which is very good.
Cool. Well, let's head down south a little bit. Between Cigar City and between Hill Farmstead is a state of Delaware, probably a little further north. But Gil, you got an article about Dogfish Head.
Well, it's not an article. It's something that I want to. It's something that I put it down there. I finally caught up. So Sam Calagione has a new show called That's Odd, Let's Drink It. I just want to put it out there. There's not a lot of internet. Sam can be funny.
Yeah.
I think it's a 6-part series, and I want to get it was a blog turned into YouTube channel. called
That's feast.
Internet, and with high quality internet and TV shows that do good job on talk about craft beer. So Sam can be funny.
Yeah,
I think it's a 6-part series, and I want to get it was a blog turned into YouTube channel
that's
called
feast.
First We
First,
Feast.
first we feast.
Yeah, so they got a James Beard Award, and so they're doing a lot of internet shows, and that's all. Let's Drink It. It's the Sam Calagione new show, so it's going to be 6, and maybe more in the future. So check it out on First We Feast YouTube channel. I like because he starts saying the craft beer that every person has a book, at least one book in them. I believe in something greater than that. I believe that every that's how he started the show. So
And I watched one of the or two of the episodes last night. The first one was with he did basically a collaboration there with Mario Balotelli out of Italy. Mario Batali out of Italy, and
Sam has one market beer.
and then he did an episode with Chris Bosch where they had a Pico Brew Zymatic and like a stretch Hummer, and they brewed a beer that had a lot of influences from like barbecue, like Texas style barbecue. So they brewed the beer in the limousine, and they're gonna take it back to Dogfish Head and brew a bigger batch on their system. And I don't know if they're gonna put it if they just put it on tap of their brew pub, or if they're gonna distribute it or what. But it was a pretty cool episode.
So yeah, watch it. It's available on the YouTube.
So I'm gonna go and talk a little bit about the beer releases that are coming up this week or in the near future. Half Acre out of Chicago, Illinois. They're coming out with their Quaker Bridge barley wine. That's going to be a 10% beer, which is going to be released next week. Dogfish Head, their Higher Math 20th anniversary. That's a golden ale brewed with chocolate and sour cherry juice. It's going to be 17%, and that's going to be the first week. It should be this week right here, first week of November. Boulder Beer out of Boulder, Colorado, they're releasing their Killer Penguin barley wine, 10%. That should be rolling out next week. Hardywood Park out of Richmond, on Halloween, they had their release of Trickery, which is a milk stout that they aged in apple brandy barrels for 8 months. I'm not a big fan. Well, I like milk stouts, but milk stouts don't like me. But nonetheless, I swear that beer has to be incredible. Founders out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, just released their Backwards Bastard, which is their Scotch ale aged in bourbon barrels. Always a annual favorite. Stone out of Escondido, California, they're releasing their next beer out of the Bastard series, which is Depth Charge Double Bastard, which has an addition of espresso beans at 11.2%. That's going to be released here in this month. Trillium, one of my favorite breweries out of Boston, they're releasing their Heavy Metal Double IPA. That's going to be released on Monday. 21st Amendment out of San Francisco, California, they releasing their annual Marooned on Hog Island Oyster Stout. It's going to be shucked into cans this time around on November 13th. Stone is also releasing, I don't know if you remember, they had Shokoveza, which was their, it was a stout that had chilies and I think some chocolate in it.
It's Coca-Cola and chili, yeah.
So they're releasing a version called Locoveza, which is Shokoveza aged and soured in virgin barrels. And they're going to release Locoveza Extra Añejo, which is aged and soured in Bordeaux and tequila barrels. So Shokoveza is a milk stout brew with cocoa, coffee, and spices.
Is that better?
That's going to be released tomorrow. That's probably going to be awesome. Monday Night Brewing out of Atlanta, Georgia. These guys are actually making some really good beers. I've had a few things from them, and they're really good. Their Drafty Kill Bourbon Barrel Scotch Ale on November 16th. And Tired Hands out of Philly, they're going to release their Guava Milkshake IPA. That should be interesting. It's brewed with oats and lactose sugar and hopped with Mosaic and Citra. And it's conditioned on vanilla beans and guava. That's going to be a 7.5% ABV beer. So that sounds like it's going to be delicious. Wayne, do you guys have any releases coming out here on the horizon that you want to plug real quick?
We just released Darkwoods not that long ago, but are you talking about something that's going to have distribution, or?
It doesn't matter. I mean, because people in Florida watch the show too. So if it's just them that can get it at the tap room, people in Tampa, or distributorship, whatever.
Darkwoods has been one of the newest ones, and it's our second year of doing the series. The series is an experimentation and different techniques for wood age beers. Wood age beers are not the same at all as barrel aged beers. Basically, this allows us to infuse wood sugars or tannins into the beer without the ingress of oxygen. Last year's was a combination of French oak, American oak, and maple, and this year is American oak toasted 4 different ways and blended at different percentages, and I approached it almost like I would like a grist, just based on the darkness of the toast. And the base beer is like a dark old ale. So
Wayne, hold up. Excuse me, Wayne, while I go to another tab and buy plane tickets to Tampa.
Well, my inspiration went back to the 90s. I remembered evenings of having Old Peculiar in the fall or winter when I lived back in Alabama, where there actually are 4 seasons or close to them. And it's just a very nice beer for that time of year. So all I've simply done is interpreted that, wood infused it, and increased the alcohol. So moved it from like a lower ABV English old ale up into like the 9.5-10% range.
So Wayne, Ryan has a question for you. He says, can you talk about Cigar City's impact on the current zeitgeist of Mexican spice imperial stouts?
God. Yeah, we discussed this to some extent today, but I don't feel like answering that question.
All right. All right.
So your wood beer. What can I eat with that? Is that going to be like a barbecue thing? I'm thinking
Not
like
guinea
barbecued
pigs.
pork.
No guinea pigs.
No guinea pigs. I'm thinking like like a whole smoked side of ham.
I'm sure it would go well with that, but to me, when I was designing the beer, I was thinking more of like sitting out on the deck, watching the leaves fall off the trees, and fall moving into winter, candlelight, and sort of like a strong oak-aged version of like a Portofino wine. Was kind of the approach.
So romantic.
Not that you guys have a real winter in Tampa, but
Exactly. So I have to create beers that create a sensory memory of that for me.
I got you. I want to talk about 5 festivals that are coming up here. Autos and Ales, that's going to be in Hershey, Pennsylvania, coming up on November 6th. That's tomorrow. San Diego Beer Week should be kicking off tomorrow, so I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun to have 170 million breweries in San Diego alone. All Colorado Beer Festival, Colorado Springs on November 7th. That's on Saturday. Attack of the Big Beers. That's going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday as well. And also on Saturday is the Bluffton International Beer Expo in Little Old Bluffton, South Carolina. So I would kind of wish I was there to support the home team on that one, but that should be a lot of fun. Wayne, do you guys have any festivals in the area in Tampa that you guys are going to be pouring at, or that you're going to be at yourself maybe?
Do you want to talk about any festivals coming up?
I mean, we're going to have Hunapoo Day.
That's March of 2016.
Yeah, second Saturday of March always. Other than that, I can't talk much about it, and we feel like we struggle enough to do the one, so we're not going to add a second.
Yeah, and that sums up Tampa Bay Beer Week just about. So,
Okay.
but that's not till March of next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be a similar format to last year, but well, I can tell you this: we're probably going to move it out of the brewery. We just feel like, yeah, we can't really do full justice to it at the brewery. It's just a tight space, so we'll probably have the same amount of people, maybe slightly more, but we're going to move it to where the Florida Brewers Guild has traditionally been held, or at least for the last 2 years, if you want to talk short traditions. So it's called Cotonchovie Park, and it's in downtown. It's right on the water. We're very likely going to be moving it there, but it's not 100% set in stone. And then we'll still do events at the brewery so that if people are coming into town for Hunapoo Day and want to go to the brewery, there'll still be a reason to go. We'll put a lot of limited draft stuff on and still try to do some fun stuff there. But we just feel like it's a tight space. We don't have a lot of off-site parking there, and it's just, it's just become a bear to do a good event there.
Renting a park is a fantastic idea.
I've never had the pleasure of going to Hunapoo Day, but it's not just about Cigar City beer, right? I mean, you guys are well. There are other breweries that are pouring their beer as well, right? It's like a beer festival.
Yeah. I really want Joey to answer this question because I think that, we're both emotionally attached to it, but I'm going to tell him because I think that he can really deliver it the best. Okay. He's talking about how Hunapoo Day is not about the release of a beer; it's about inviting all our friends.
Well, yeah, thank you. That's what we've tried to make it about, and I think in some ways the beer sort of got lost in it. And last year we were able to take the beer sales away, and I felt like the people that went last year were able to have a good time and be like, wow, look at all these amazing beers, and I don't have to worry about what time the beer goes on sale. I don't have to worry about if I'm going to be able to get enough so that I can, give them, get some from my buddy and take one back from my cousin. Everyone going in knows they're going to get a certain amount of beer, and honestly, I feel like last year's event went pretty well. We made one horrible mistake. We invited a guy named Ryan Litter-Marathu, who was doing at the time.
He got drunk at the bar. And
that pretty much ruined the whole event. Yeah. But other than his presence, I felt like we mostly did a good job last year.
Cool. Because I don't know if you guys have ever been to Brewvivo down in Charleston, South Carolina at Coast Brewery, but they basically have the beer festival outside of their brewery. They pitch this very long tent, and all the breweries are in this tent right outside their brewery pouring beers. Cigar City poured there the last 2 years, I think. But I mean, if you guys are considering the room, I mean, Tampa normally has pretty good weather, so that's something that you guys could probably consider. But
we don't have to pretend to enjoy it too, right?
Nonetheless, Wayne, Joy, we really want to thank you guys for joining us tonight, man. You guys have been more than gracious in giving us some of your time. And once again, we wish Cigar City nothing but the best. We love your beer. If I can get some, my favorite beer from you is probably either Good Gourd or White Oak Age High Life. I love those beers, as you guys plug. I don't even know what beer that was, and I've never seen that before.
Is that your brand, Ryan?
Yes.
That's Brian's brand called
It's
Casita.
awful. I don't recommend it.
Okay.
It's being brewed at Hill Farmstead. His brand is called Casita. A whole bunch of really good friends aggravating the hell out of each other tonight. There you have it.
The Cellarman has his own beer.
Yeah, imagine that.
I've actually known Ryan longer than you. Yeah, Ryan.
Hey guys, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We really appreciate you guys. We consider you to be friends of the show. Seeing as you've been on the show 3 times now, so we hope we can continue to tap into this friendship and have you on some more in the future. So cheers to you guys and all the good beer that you brew, and good luck on your trip in Vermont.
Thanks, Randy, and cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care.